A very good evening to all the dear aspirants of the assistant professor examination. Today, we are going to begin our series of online lectures for the subject of optional English. As you are aware that this is one of the new initiatives taken up by our university, Karnataka State Akkamadevi Women's University. We have a tradition of we have a new tradition. We have set a new tradition of giving online classes, online lectures for various competitive exams, and this is one such series. So, at the outset, I would like to welcome all of you to this online coaching for the subject of optional English. So, let me begin with the introduction of syllabus, which will be again dealt with by the resource persons in detail. So, as you are aware, as you might be aware, that the syllabus for optional English, that is English literature, has been divided into 7 units. Unit 1 is about drama. It covers the whole history of English drama. Then Unit 2 is on poetry. Unit 3 on fiction and short story. Unit 4 on the basic concepts of language, theories and pedagogy, usage of English. Unit 5 is about English in India. And then Unit 6, literary criticism, and Unit 7 will be literary theory post World War II. So, although there are these 7 units which look very tiny in their titles, they cover a lot of material because the history of English literature is very vast. So, in today's first lecture, we are going to have uh, an eminent professor of English as our resource person, and I wish to add him to our screen today so that you can see him, you can meet him, and I would like to welcome him uh, to this class here. Uh, Welcome to you, sir. Let me first introduce today's resource person to all the viewers. We have with us today Dr. Gurunath Badigir, sir. Uh, I know Gurunath Badigir, sir, for his style of speaking. He is known throughout Dharwad. He is known for his way of speaking English in a very beautiful accent. uh, I'm very happy to have you here as our resource person today, sir. And it is my pleasure to introduce you to all our viewers. So, dear viewers, Dr. Gurunath Badigir, sir, is an associate professor of English. He is serving in government first grade degree college and PG center at Dharwad. Sir was born in 1972 in Badami Taluk. Dr. Badigir sir has completed his graduation from Basveshwar Arts College, Bagalkot, and MA from Karnataka University, Dharwad in 1995. He was awarded MPhil and PhD from Gulbarga University in 1998 and 2008, respectively. He has authored two books: one, A Short History of English Literature, and another, An Introduction to English Phonetics. The book is available with DVD. Sir has specialization in English phonetics. He has also been serving the teacher fraternity as the secretary of Karnataka University Academic Forum for English teachers, COAFET. Now, this is the third time that he is the secretary of this association, and it is really an achievement, sir. Sir has attended more than 42 national and international seminars and has delivered talks on various topics. He has also given 12 radio talks besides conducting workshops and on communication skills in English. He has worked in various capacities in various colleges and PG departments affiliated to Karnataka University, Dharwad, Mysore University, and Gulbarga University for 25 years. Sir has also conducted workshops on communication skills, job skills, and English language and literature for both teachers as well as students. Uh, his areas of interest are English literature, post-colonial literature, English language teaching, communication skills, English phonetics, theatre and Lavani literature, cultural studies and media studies, and music. So that is a brief biodata of Dr. Gurunath Badgir sir, and we are all very fortunate to have such a personality who has a lot of wonderful experience when it comes to teaching of English language and English literature in northern Karnataka. So, at the outset, I would like to welcome you once again to this series of lectures, sir. Welcome. Um, so, dear viewers, Dr. Gurnath Badgir sir will be here with us. He is going to discuss mainly three topics. Today will be the first lecture on the general strategies. Uh, in what ways we need to prepare for attempting this examination as optional English as our subject. So he will be dealing with some general strategies, and then he will also be speaking to us on poetry and the basics of English language. So without wasting much time, I now welcome Dr. Gurunath Badigir sir, and I request him to proceed with his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Akshay, for your very nice words of introduction. I am
Thank you.
humbled by the introduction
Thank
given
you.
about me. And in fact, I consider this as uh, a great matter of pleasure to be a part of this kind of venture undertaken by Karnataka Akkamadevi University, Vijaypura. In fact, there is, team of some young, talented teachers like Akshay, Dr. Prakash, and under the able leadership of Vice Chancellor Professor Tusimala. I congratulate the university for taking such
Thank
initiative,
you.
and we are very happy to be the part of that.
Thank you, sir.
Uh, Coming to the point, I also congratulate all the viewers on YouTube, on the StreamYard, who have joined for sharing and some kind of enjoying knowledge, and at the same time, the knowledge which may lead to success in the examination. Particularly, there are thousands of our young English teachers who are aspiring to become assistant professors in government colleges. Sometimes the same syllabus may be used for university appointments, also, no doubt. We are here today to discuss what is the syllabus for English optional and how one can approach, because teaching the syllabus is an impossibility. As one of the teachers like you, or one of the postgraduates in English, and with some experiences of 25 to 26 years in college and university departments, and teaching in different universities also. That's why that gave me little confidence. I taught in Karnataka University, Gulbarga University, Mysore University, and finally we worked in different parts of Karnataka, teaching different uh, texts, contexts. So, for these reasons, of course, I am here. I am happy to be here to discuss the portion related to optional English. Today, I would be talking in general about what is in this optional English paper and how we should approach, how we should prepare ourselves for the post of assistant professors. I also know that even students also joined in this particular session. This will help them understand uh, the literatures available in the world, with a special emphasis on British literature. As Professor Akshay was talking about the outline of syllabus, again, what I would be doing today is to talk in general about the history of English literature, the history of Indian English literature, the issues related to criticism, critical theories, and practices, and I can also talk a little about ELT issues. So, with this wishing you all the best in the new learning, I begin my talk today. Dear friends, when it comes to testing of a teacher for a particular post like assistant professor of English, the government has kept something in mind. In fact, we were also the part of this kind of a discussion. What should be the syllabus for the students? What should be the syllabus for the candidates? Then the discussion led to there was a clear instruction from the department that the syllabus should include all the UG syllabus in the state of Karnataka, so that once they are selected, they will be in fact empowered to teach these texts. And the second thing is, for any teacher, for any English teacher, for instance, we should know minimum things related to English literature, Indian English literature, new literatures, ELT, and critical theories. This is the minimum requirement for all teachers. That's why when you look at the syllabus of this particular paper, you can understand that they are not new names. There are no new names. When you see the syllabus, you remember your degree days, you remember your PG days. But what kind of questions will be asked on this? Some people are very, very apprehensive of what would be our fate, how to prepare. Because what happens, we remember all the topics together, and sometimes when you remember all the topics together, you feel yourself, nervous. Let's not be nervous about it. And the very purpose of this orientation is to clear your doubts and is to throw light on a certain area of importance and certain techniques, if I can say like this, certain techniques of understanding text, understanding authors, understanding trends, understanding concepts. So that's going to be the very purpose of this workshop. When you look at the syllabus, Unit 1 speaks about drama. We are studying canonical literature here, particularly the British literature. British literature is always a basic thing for us. The idea behind studying British literature is at least a student of literature should study the basics of British literature, so that because it is a literature, whenever we're talking about English is the language of England, and English literature is a part of England. And that's why we have been given this kind of an understanding that first study the history of English language and history of English literature. That's why we have been doing it. Of course, in the NEP, there was a different thinking. These days, we started teaching Indian English literature in the beginning itself. And later stages, we have introduced British literature. Whatever may be the changes, no matter, because we as teachers are supposed to teach different literatures And for this reason, we must understand mm, British literature properly, Indian literature properly. So they have given genre wise genre. Drama is a genre. Whenever we're talking about drama, the origin of drama, the beginnings of drama, the pioneers of drama, the major writers of drama. So when it comes to British literature, we are supposed to discuss different stages of development of drama, and we normally talk about that, how drama started in the cycle plays, the mystery plays, the morality plays, the interludes leading to regular drama. There is a story of development of drama in England. Earlier there used to be cycles, and they were in fact enacting mystery plays related to Bible. Then there were morality plays. There were miracle plays related to saints. Then there was entertainment plays, interludes, leading to regular drama. We talk about Renaissance, we talk about influence of Greco-Roman literature on the European literature, and particularly the rise of tragedy, comedy, tragicomedy, which we see in England, all about university bits, all about Shakespeare, all about major playwrights like, at least whenever we are talking about university bits, at least you should know Christopher Marlowe. Whenever you talk about Christopher Marlowe, at least you should know minimum two plays, Dr. Faustus and his issues. Huh? His dialogue on Helen, the burn, the Iliums of Troy. At least you should remember Tamburlaine, his blank verse. We shouldn't remember Kid for his Spanish tragedy. We should remember Green for his comedy, and then how Shakespeare was molded by the university wits, how Shakespeare emerged as a great writer of 16th century with his 37 plays that includes comedy, tragedy, chronicles, tragicomedies, major comedies, major tragedies, at least a simple plot. All these things are necessary whenever, because we often quote from variety of plays of Shakespeare, whether it is Hamlet, Macbeth, King Lear, Julius Caesar, or Othello, whether it is As You Like It, Midsummer Night's Dream, Twelfth Night, Winter's Tale, Merchant of Venice, Romeo and Juliet, Theoremus and Thisbe, Richard II, Henry IV. Minimum understanding. Not that you must go deep into it. I will come to that point later. So after that, we see the fall of drama, the decline of drama during post-Shakespearean period. That is there. There we see Ben Jonson and Webster, Dekker, and all people. That is not mentioned in the syllabus here. Immediately there is a jump to restoration drama. Of course, we need to have a link. We talk a little about Ben Jonson, and then we move towards restoration drama. We talk about Wycherley, we talk about Congreve, we talk about John Dryden, and what is comedy of manners, what makes a drama comedy of manners, the very characteristics of comedy of manners. And then there is again in the syllabus gap. We don't talk about 18th century. Of course, in 18th century, we have Goldsmith, She Stooped to Conquer, Good-Natured Man. We have Sheridan's School for Scandal. Of course, that minimum encyclopedic knowledge is necessary. 19th century, there is almost, uh, you know, silence of drama because novel dominated, poetry dominated, prose dominated this century. Immediately, there is something about modern playwrights. And modern drama is a very big chapter, vast and varied. We are talking about realistic drama, problem plays, Jibisha, Galsworthy, and T.S. Eliot's poetic drama, Murder in the Cathedral, variety of things. J.M. Singh. We have again absurd plays, variety of influences on modern drama. We have absurd plays. We have the plays that speak about the human absurdities. You have Harold Pinter, Samuel Beckett, John Osborne, the angry young man. So we need to understand different trends. Irish theatre movement happens here. And we need to understand at least what is a problem play, why people like Bernard Shaw wrote the plays with a purpose, the plays that have conflicts, whether mental conflict or physical conflict. At least few plays about, the candidates may ask questions later, what are the important plays? When it comes to, trend, we will talk about it. And it also includes American drama. Eugene O'Neill, Arthur Miller. We have wonderful playwrights from America. And we're talking about Arthur Miller. You see how he speaks about American Dream, the famous plays like The Death of Salesman and other. Tennessee Williams. So these are minimum things a teacher of English should know while teaching English drama. There are other dramas which are not covered in the syllabus, whether there is African drama, other Indian plays. They are not discussed here. So the second unit goes to poetry. Again, the theory is same. What is that? You talk about origin of English poetry, when the poetry, the development of poetry, medieval poetry, beginning with Chaucer. Whenever we're talking about English poetry, we are not talking about oral tradition, we're not talking about oral narratives. We start discussing these regular writers like Geoffrey Chaucer. When we're talking about Geoffrey Chaucer, we remember his prologue to Canterbury Tales, we remember his Canterbury Tales, the portrayal of England, uh, the 14th century England. Then we talk about Longland, we talk about Wycliffe, John Gower, Lydgate, and then we come up to Watt and Surrey. Watt and Surrey are the pioneers of a kind of poetry which seems to be very original, and how they borrowed sonnet from Italy, contribution of Thomas Watt and Earl of Surrey, the Watt model of sonnet, Surrey's model of sonnet, what is called Shakespearean sonnet. These are interesting things that are a part of the syllabus. And later we have wonderful songs and sonneteers from Elizabethan age, and wonderful poets like Edmund Spenser, who is called poet's poet. And Spenser is a child of Renaissance and Reformation, we say. His Fairy Queen, his various songs, Shepherd's Calendar, Calling Clown Come Home Again, and sonnets of Spenser, sonnet Spenserian stanza. Whenever we're talking about 9-line stanza, it is Spenserian stanza. Okay, why Spenser is important, why he became a master for many people in the later stage, that's to be discussed in the syllabus. And we need to talk about Philip Sidney and Sidney's sonnets and his disappointment in love. William Shakespeare's sonnets, 150 sonnets. Some of the sonnets were written about W.H., some of the sonnets were written about Dark Lady. What are the important sonnets? These are the matters to be discussed. And we move to the next 17th century poets like metaphysical school of poetry. There are schools of poetry actually: Puritan poetry, metaphysical poetry, cavalier poetry, and they are the trendsetters. When it comes to John Donne, he's master of metaphysical poetry, he's a leader of metaphysical school of poetry. We have Crashaw, we have Herbert, And we have Herrick and John Milton. That comes in the Puritan poetry, and how John Milton is very, very important in English poetry, we all know. There were two schools, one metaphysical school of poetry, who are famous for using conceits and who wrote the poetry of thoughts. The poetry of thoughts. When the Elizabethans played with the words, the metaphysicals played with thoughts. How it is thoughtful, how it is sometimes ironically, satirizing. um, Elizabethan poetry is a very interesting thing that we should know. At least we should know some poems have done like Sunrising, Canonization, Lovers in Finiteness. We should know Herrick, we should know Lovelace. Some poems like Collar, some poems like Pulley play a very important role. That will be the part of a discussion. And when it comes to John Milton, John Milton is the greatest versifier in English, the greatest epic poet that England has produced. That's why we remember him not only as a champion of liberty, because he wrote during the time of Puritan age, during the rule of Cromwell. He emerged as a champion of liberty. We talk about his Paradise Lost, we talk about his Paradise Regained, we talk about his Areopagitica, we talk about his Comus, we talk about his Lycidas, an elegy written on the death of his friend Edward King. So, obviously, that's a very important aspect of British literature. So, Milton, on his blindness, his famous sonnet. So, minimum things are necessary, I'll just tell you. And we move to 18th century poetry in England. As you know, 18th century is also called Age of Enlightenment, Neoclassical Age. It is also known as Augustan Age. Augustan, because there was a development of classical poetry under the leadership of Alexander Pope. Of course, there is no mention about John Dryden in 17th century. Of course, one need to know little about John Dryden. John Dryden's poetry, the style of poetry is continued in 18th century by Alexander Pope. Alexander Pope satires, variety of epistles he has written. Epistle to Albert Not, Essay on Man is a very interesting book of poetry. Rape of the Lock as a mock epic. How we should understand Rape of the Lock. They are all very interesting part of Alexander Pope. And Thomas Gray is given here. Why Thomas Gray is important? One of the transitional poets. How there is a deviation from the urban poetry to rural poetry, and what place Gray's elegy, written in country churchyard, attains in English poetry or the word poetry. That's important. The very message we learn from, far from the madding crowd, the curfew tolls the knell of parting day. Wonderful statements about the peasants, how nature is beautifully described, and why Gray should be considered as one of the great elegy writers. All the part of our discussion in future. Then we move towards romantic movement. Romantic movement is one of the greatest movements in the history of English poetry. It is the movement that was triggered by French Revolution, and you see how the movement started with the publication of the lyrical ballads in 1798, and how Wordsworth, Coleridge, Shelley, Keats, Byron, Scott sang beautifully about variety of aspects. If Wordsworth is talking about digi, joys, and aching raptures, dancing with the daffodils, singing with cuckoo, listening to solitary reaper, talking about the evils of the modern world in the world is too much with us. Wordsworth is a great poet. We also read something about the Prelude as a spiritual autobiography of Wordsworth. How Coleridge is important for us for having introduced some kind of supernatural elements in poetry, how he tried to create a medieval atmosphere in Christabel, Kubla Khan, and how he created a wonderful supernatural poetry in Rime of Ancient Mariner, a famous ballad. So, Coleridge, as a poet, as a critic, we have P.B. Shelley, Shelley's philosophizing nature, Shelley's Skylar, Shelley's Ode to the West Wind, Shelley's, Revolt of Islam, Shelley's, okay, Shelley as a revolutionary poet, Shelley as a nature poet, Lord Byron, whether it is Child Herald's Pilgrimage, Don John, a satire, and some short poems of Lord Byron. He was also a great revolutionary. John Keats, the concept of beauty in John Keats, the Greek elements in John Keats, the worshipper of beauty, truth is beauty, beauty, truth, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. All these things we find in John Keats, whether it is Endymion, Hyperion, Ode on Gracian, variety of poems John Keats has written on first looking into Chapman's Homer, La Ballade Sans Mercies. So, what not? It's very interesting to, in fact, read John Keats as the most beautiful poet. And we jump to Victorian poetry. Victorian, whenever we're talking about Victorian poetry, we talk about Lord Tennyson, we talk about Robert Browning, we talk about Matthew Arnold. But in the syllabus, there is a focus on Tennyson and Browning. Tennyson as another great poet. After Milton, we have and Wordsworth, we have one more great poet, Tennyson. Tennyson's dramatic monologues, Tennyson's Ulysses, Tennyson's Lotus Eaters, Tennyson's Elegy in Memoriam. So, how Tennyson plays a very important role in Victorian poetry is one thing. And Robert Browning, as a master of dramatic monologues, dramatic personae, dramatic lyrics, we remember his Last Duchess, we remember Last Ride Together. Wonderful dramatic monologues were written by Robert Browning. We have Elizabeth Barrett Browning, who, How Do I Love Thee? She writes beautifully about her husband. So that's a very interesting poet couple. We read about Thomas Hardy. Thomas Hardy should be studied as a 20th century transitional poet, but of course, he's a 19th century novelist. He's a darkling thrush, his Wessex poems. And Gerald Manley Hopkins. Hopkins, in fact, lived and died in 19th century, but his poems were published in 20th century. Is considered as a modern poet for he has innovated sprung rhythm, his Windover, Death of Reckland, all these wonderful things should be noted and studied. And when it comes to modern poets, we talk about W.B. Yeats. Yeats as a romantic poet of modern age. We read his Greek poems. There are a lot of similarities between Yeats and Keats. He too wrote a Greek poems like Byzantium poems, Sailing to Byzantium. Understand? He too wrote about disappointment in love, whether it is Prayer for My Daughter or No Second Try, his love for Margon. He too wrote philosophic poems, wonderful poems. So, like Second Coming, mm, one of the Irish poems like Easter 1916, September 1913. One should know whenever we are talking about eats, you should remember these things. T.S. Eliot is a representative poet of 20th century, a man who was both imagist, modernist. His poetry is defined as a heap of broken images, the allusions, the references that he makes in the wasteland, the five parts in the wasteland, his four portraits, Ash Wednesday, his other poems like Journey of the Masai, to the Indians who died in Africa. Then there is a mixture of some other poets like Walcott, Derek Walcott, and Ole Soyinka, African literature. And then we talk about W.H. Auden. Auden is an Oxford poet, influenced by Marxist philosophy, later disillusioned. We talk about Gabriel Okara, a Nigerian poet. We remember his Once Upon a Time. Dylan Thomas, again English poet. Sines Hanai, a Nobel Prize winner. Sylvia Plath, as a philosophic poet. All these things are part of poetry. And then when it comes to Unit 3, we will be talking about fiction, short story, and fiction, as you know, four wheels of novel. The four wheels of novel are Richardson, beginning with Pamela, Fielding, Smollett, Stern. We should know why these people are important in 18th century. They are the pioneers of English novel proper. They wrote picaresque novels, they wrote realistic novels. And there was one more, Daniel Defoe, who wrote the best novels like Moll Flanders. When it comes to 19th century, we remember some important novelists. In Romantic Age, we remember Jane Austen and Walter Scott. Jane Austen was the pioneer of domestic novels. Whether it is Emma, Pride and Prejudice, Mansfield Park, or then we talk about Mary Shelley and her Gothic novels, Frankenstein. Emily Bronte, some women novelists are very interesting here. Emily Bronte, whenever we're talking about Emily Bronte, we talk about Wuthering Heights. Whenever we talk about Charles Dickens, we talk about humanitarian novel. We talk about David Copperfield, we talk about Hard Times, we talk about Pickwick Papers, we talk about uh, Tale of Two Cities, a historical novel, that way. This is about Dickens. And then there is introduction of Leo Tolstoy. Leo Tolstoy is a Russian novelist. We talk about Gustave Flaubert, a French novelist. Gustave Flaubert is Madame Bovary. Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace, Anna Karenina. Minimum things, not necessary to read whole novel. At least you should know what is in it. George Eliot, we talk about Middlemarch, we talk about Silas Marner, Mill on the Floss, Victor Hugo, Oscar Wilde, Thomas Hardy. Of course, there is no logicality in writing, of course. These novelists are there in 19th century. Some are Indian, some are American, some are French, some are Russian. When it comes to modern novels and postmodern novels, D.H. Lawrence is important for us. D.H. Lawrence's novels like Sons and Lovers, Lady Chatterley Lover, White Peacock, Rainbow, and E.M. Forster's famous novels like A Passage to India, Virginia Woolf's Stream of Consciousness novels. What is Stream of Consciousness novel? It's a new technique that a group of novelists like Dorothy Richardson, Virginia Woolf, and James Joyce developed, and how her Lighthouse, Mrs. Dalloway are very unique novels. And we talk about George Orwell, a social novels of George Orwell's Animal Farm, 1984, wonderful novels. Graham Greene's Britain Rock, underworld novels, speaks about the underworld. Chino Achebe's Things Fall Apart and other novels. Doris Lessing, V.S. Naipaul, Kazuo Ishiguro are to be discussed in this particular chapter. Unit 4 talks about language, basic concepts, theories, pedagogy, English in years. What Ferdinand de Saussure says, la langue and la parole. We as teachers should understand how to teach English to different classes, different atmospheres, different reasons. We should have this orientation on pedagogical practices. In some of the PG courses, it may not be the part of the syllabus, but we all are supposed to develop certain skills, develop certain understanding how to teach English in classes. Because whenever we are talking about ability enhancement skill courses, discipline specific courses, open electives, we have to approach different pedagogical practices in different classrooms. Teaching UG is different, teaching PG is different. Teaching basic English is different, teaching optional English is different. Now there are different words, AECC, ability enhancement skill courses, and we are talking about discipline specific core courses. And all these things actually matters much here. The direct method, B.Ed graduates know very well how to use direct method. Grammar translation method, which is also known as German method. Audiolingual methods, structural approach, physical response, communicative language teaching, silent way, task-based language learning, natural approach, lexical approach. All these things will be discussed in this particular session. And we move towards English in India, history, evolution, and future of English in India, beginning with English language studies in India. We talk about Macaulay's famous Minutes Education Policy of 1835, which led to the introduction of English education in India, the contribution of Macaulay's Minutes and William Bentinck. Indian English literature and its development. Famous Indian writers should be studied. We normally teach in the classroom pre-independence Indian English literature, post-independence Indian English literature. Pre-independence novel, post-independence novel. Pre-independence poetry, post-independence poetry. Pre-independence prose, post-independence prose. Similarly, the drama. So this is how they are discussed. And major writers in question are Toru Dutt, Kamala Das, Nissim Ezekiel. If Toru Dutt belongs to pre-independence, Kamala Das is post-independence, bilingual writer. Nissim Ezekiel is a famous poet and has poetry. A.K. Ramanujan's Exile and other poems. Jayant Mahapatra's, as you know, a famous poet from Odisha. We have Arun Kolatkar from Maharashtra. And Indian novelists should also be discussed here. And we are talking about three pillars of Indian English novel like R.K. Narayan, Mulk Raj Anand, and Raja Rao. But R.K. Narayan's Malgudi novels, Gandhian novels, social novels like Man Eater of Malgudi, Vendor of Sweets, Waiting for Mahatma, Mulk Raj Anand's Untouchable, Two Leaves and a Bud, Sword and a sickle, Coolie, Arundhati Roy's God of Small Things, Amitav Ghosh's Antique Land, Kolkata Chromosome, Salman Rushdie's Midnight Children, Girish Karnad's plays like Taladanda, Nagamandala, Mahesh Dattani's plays Dance Like a Man, Morning Raga, stage plays, street plays, Vijay Tendulkar's Marathi plays translated into English like Silent the Court is in Session and other plays will all be discussed in this session. And Unit 6 speaks about criticism. Again, what we teach is not immediately modern theories. We teach concepts in the beginning. Conceptualization is important. First, we should teach our students what is criticism, how criticism, the history of criticism, why criticism, functions of criticism, methods of criticism, types of criticism. So literary criticism and introduction is necessary. We have some wonderful books on that. Types of literary criticism, functions of criticism, historical development of criticism, medieval period, the Renaissance period, Sydney's, you know, book, Neoclassicism. We have some writers like Dryden, Pope, Dr. Johnson, preface to Shakespeare, variety of things. Romantic criticism like Wordsworth's preface to lyrical ballads, Coleridge's Biographia Literaria, Shelley's Defense of Poetry. All these things will have to be studied. 19th century criticism like Arnold's Study of Poetry and other critics of the time. Later, we move towards post-World War period, where we talk about formalism, new criticism like Crow Ransom. We are talking about Cleanth Brooks. We're talking about important writers of modern age, psychoanalytical criticism. Talk about I.A. Richards. We talk about Marxist criticism, the influence of Marx, Hegel, Kant, and how Marxist criticism became very popular in 20th century. Structuralism, semiotics, post-structuralism, deconstruction, new historicism, cultural studies. We are all talking about that. Post-colonial criticism, and talking about Gayatri Spivak, Homi Bhabha, Helen Tiffin. As far as feminist criticism is concerned, talking about Simone Bawa. Variety of feminist theories are there. So this is just an overview of the syllabus that we have for this particular examination and how to approach, how to collect notes, how to prepare notes, what to remember, what are the major aspects. Many of you are already net set qualified or PhD students now. And now you need to understand what is to be highlighted in the short period, what you can expect from the question paper, and how you should get ready for yourself for this important examination, because this examination will lead to a job. That's why you are very serious about it. For general listeners, it is an enjoyment, new learning, and an addition to knowledge. For those who are already teachers, no problem. But those who want to become a government college teacher, don't lose yourself, even if it is one post for you. Many of our friends are talking. Sir, there are only 4 posts in my category, 2 posts in this, that. Don't worry about that. That's not an important thing. At the end, you should be enjoying knowledge. You should be enjoying not examination, but knowledge. And if you start reading with this kind of a perspective, certainly there will be success. And success is again not something that can be achieved in a short time. It requires hard work, persistence, perseverance. I hope all of you will focus on these aspects and come out successful. I'm requesting uh, Professor Akshay that this session is now open for discussion, and I will take questions now. You can write in the chat box and Akshay will moderate it. Thank you. You are not audible. Please, you are muted.
Okay. So thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful presentation on the overview of the whole syllabus that is there prescribed for the post of assistant professor's examination. We have got not many doubts today, but yes, there are some questions. There was this question, sir. Good afternoon. As you discussed the syllabus, kindly mention some of the important topics. And I think sir has already dealt with that thing. He has already highlighted what all things are important, what all things we need to highlight. And so I think the doubt is solved there, resolved there. Sir, there is one more question coming from the viewers. Please suggest some reference books for study.
Yeah, as far as reference books are concerned, when you look into the syllabus, it is rather very conventional. Uh, it's not like the net JRF1. Conventional books will do. The best books are now even Albert, Crompton Rickett that we used to read, David Duchess, Critical History of English Literature. If you want to study the modern literature, of course, there is one book, Sanders, Oxford History
Andrew,
of
Andrew
English
Sanders.
Literature. And we have a small book, Peck and Quail, a short history of English literature, Peck and Quail. It is. I will give you the list with the publication and even price if possible. Um, and in India, we have some more books. Even Satish Kumar will help you for a basic understanding of literature. As far as Indian literature is concerned, you should better study M.K. Naik's Indian English literature. If at all you want to have overview of textual analysis, Sterling Publishers, that is Indian Writing in English by K.R. Srinivas Iyengar will do. And one more book is there, perhaps Akshay knows it. One more book with A4 size. I just don't remember Malhotra or
Sir, is it
something.
Mehrotra, an illustrated history of Indian writing in
Ah,
English?
Malhotra. Hmm.
Mehrotra, A.K. Mehrotra.
Huh. And as far as individual writers are concerned, particularly when it comes to Shakespeare, first we need to identify important plays. Then we can also focus, we can also get material through internet, whether it is Spark Notes, Grade Saver, the plots, important plots. Wherever there is necessity, we should go for plots. Wherever there is necessity, we should go for lines, important poetic lines. So we need to focus because the books are available online these days. Most of the texts or writers prescribed here are now conventional ones, and all these things are available free online. And someone asked a question: what should be emphasized while preparing all the works or popular works of given writers? Because all the works need not be focused because somewhere we don't focus on minor plays, minor poems, which have not been in anthology, which have not been in discussion. Try to understand this point that all over Karnataka, we are teaching English to undergraduate students in two levels. One as basic English, another as discipline specific or optional English. And whenever we talk about any syllabus, we have some authors, anthologized authors. Whenever we are talking about Indian English poetry, we talk about Ezekiel always there, Thor Dutt is always there, Henry Derozio is there, Kolatkar is there. I know A.K. Ramanujan. We have something about Mahapatra. Then there is a poem of Rabindranath Tagore, the Gitanjali songs most of the time. So whenever we're talking about drama, we know how many Shakespearean dramas are studied all over Karnataka. One thing we know as a student, how many tragedies? Are we considering all the tragedies? We consider four major tragedies. We consider two or three chronicles. We consider two or three. Um, whenever talking about post-colonial, we drag into the Tempest, the dialogue of Tempest, and we should know minimum things about them. But for certain place, we should have comprehensive knowledge, whether it is Dickens. Dickens has written more than 30 novels. But whenever it is discussion, we discuss 5 to 6 novels of Dickens. Hardy has written number of novels, but discussion, we remember Return of the Native, we remember Mayor of Casterbridge, we remember Tess of the Arbor Village, and Jude the Obscure. And when it comes to comedy, it is far from the modern crowd, Woodlanders maximum. Okay. So, similarly, whether it is a poet or novelist or a dramatist, some major plays are always there, major poems are always there, major novels, major works. So, that should be the focus. And in the coming days, we will be telling you what all exactly how to focus. It doesn't mean that the questions may not appear from other things, but the focus should be like this. And if you have time, you can go deeper into it. That's my suggestion.
There is one more question. Do we need to understand the background and salient features of each period? I think that is most important.
Obviously, because
Yes,
there
yes,
is always a society behind the book, man behind the book. The book is a creation because of his surroundings, because of his psyche. So obviously, these factors, why Elizabethan drama is rich, it's because of Elizabeth, because of Renaissance, because of Reformation and all. If there was no Reformation, there would have been no such permission to write such secular drama. Why metaphysical like this? So why they become metaphysical why Puritan? Because of Cromwell's government, because of that kind of a restriction on drama. The drama dies, drama revives.
yes,
Poetry is classical, poetry is not classical because of the age. Age is all. Everyone belongs to his age, as Roman says. Everyone belongs to his
yes,
age and country. The place and time always matters. In the historical background, political background, or the social background plays a very important role. We need to know. You have studied it during your UZ days, but little more focus is necessary. That is need of the hour, because to understand any work of art, these things are necessary. Everything you can't use only new criticism or practical criticism on everything. So we need to focus on the background, surely.
yes. Thank you, sir. And there are certain questions regarding language and linguistics, and a question on criticism. I think, dear listeners, there are separate lectures for these topics, so you can ask these questions during those particular hours. We are going to cover everything. This was just a class
An
for an
introduction.
overview. So the respective resource persons will definitely suggest you certain books. Sir, you are going to, as you are going to cover the fourth topic, that is language, the basic
Yeah,
concepts of language. You can mention some of the important books there related to ELT.
obviously.
So that is one of the comments here. So during that class, you can mention some of the books
Yes,
related
yes.
to ELT and linguistics.
Yeah. As you know,
Yes.
I would be talking about poetry and linguistics, 2 and 4 in particular.
Yeah. Yes.
And during that time, I'll certainly give them
Yes.
important books, how to, prepare yourself, what to focus, various aspects, certainly. And I am referring to some FLU material also related to ELT. Uh, so we'll be able to tell a little more about
Yeah.
teaching of poetry, teaching of drama, teaching of prose, and then various methods used in teaching. Right.
Yes. Sure, sure. Yes, sir. And I would like to add to the list of books that sir already mentioned. When we are supposed to study some individual works of writers, I think Oxford Companion to Literature, English Literature is one such very important book
Yeah.
which we can refer for a passing reference. And obviously, we should not forget R.D. Trivedi, our very Indian writer who has written the history of English literature. I think that is one of the most important books we need to study. Uh, we should not belittle the importance of
Yes,
this
certainly.
book particularly. So I think that
Certainly.
is another very important book we need to refer. So I think the listeners are having doubts related to particular topics. So I request all the listeners to be patient and ask those questions during sessions meant for those particular topics. Uh, this was just an in general class
Watch
meant for
this.
overview.
Watch this video again. Where I
Yes,
know I was talking about variety of important topics already, and this is how the examination has been conducted in the past, and this is how it is going to be. That's what T.S. Eliot says: tradition and individual talent. And whatever modern things are designed here, it should be based on traditional concept also. Hope,
yes, definitely.
as Professor Akshay said, there will be resource persons who would add something to the discussion. And during my discussions also, I'll be able to give you some important topics, and we'll be presenting in the slides also. We'll share notes uh, on your groups. I will share notes with Professor Akshay, and that will be of some use to you. Don't worry.
Sure, sir, sure. So that will be a great idea, sir. You can share the notes. I can pass on the notes to
Yes,
the listeners.
no problem.
So thank you very much, sir, for your elaborate discussion as well. And dear listeners, please note that we are going to meet Dr. G.K. Badigar, sir, for another three classes tomorrow, 23rd December, at the same time, from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Sir is going to speak on poetry. So you can listen to his lecture on poetry tomorrow, and that will be an elaborate discussion on poetry. Later, he will also deal with the topic unit number 4, that is the basics of language. So to conclude, I would like to thank Dr. Gurnath Badiger sir on behalf of the whole of Karnataka State Mahadevi Women's University, as well as the organizers of this particular series, for sparing your valuable time with us. And I also thank all the listeners for your patient listening, and hope this lecture was very beneficial to you. And we shall all meet in the next classes. So the regular classes will run from 4 to 5 every day till 31st of December. Thank you. Sir, thank you very much for your
Thank you.
wonderful presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much for patient listening. Thank you
Thank
very much, Women's University.
thank you. Thank you. Yes. So we shall
All the
see
best.
tomorrow. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, we'll meet again. Hmm?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.